Hi, this is Kenny Albert. You're listening to the Broadway Hat Podcast with your host, Kyle Hall, the number one podcast for all things Rangers hockey.
Welcome back to the Broadway Hat Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Hall, and what a great win for the New York Rangers to close out the first half of the regular season here before they head to the All-Star break with a nice 4-1 victory over the Vegas Golden Knights, a very good Vegas Golden Knights team. The Rangers, outstanding game pretty much the entire way. A good bounce back from a tough loss in Toronto. And that Toronto loss, we've seen that game before. I could have told you that Toronto was going to score late there. They did against Tampa Bay in the playoffs last year. They've done it a couple times against very good teams with high-powered offense. They sit back and they play defense, and it's just only a matter of time before these teams are going to score and break through. And sure enough, Toronto scores with 5 minutes left in the game. You knew it was going to happen. The Rangers almost lost the game regulation. I think Tavares hit the crossbar there in the final seconds. So they're lucky to even get a point out of that game. But a game where they started off slow and then really picked up play. They dominated the second period, scoring 2 goals in the second. 2 Filipino goals, but we'll get to him in a second. That kid's on fire right now. But that was a tough loss to see. And the Rangers are going to have to play a team like Toronto in the playoffs, and they can't sit back and just wait for these teams to score. We saw against, like I said, Tampa Bay last year. That game, was it game 3, whatever it was? They sat back and boom, Toronto and Tampa scored a goal. And it just happens so much. And that's something that Gahagen, whatever that strategy is, has to change because they can't sit back. They have to attack more. Against Vegas, you saw them attack. They didn't sit back. They attacked. They got the Hedl again, scored the 3-1 goal to give them a little bump. A little, breathing room there towards the end of the game, and they get the empty netter towards the end. But, they didn't sit back. They didn't wait for the teams to score on them. So you've seen it too many times in the Rangers. That's something that has to change going forward. I don't know what the strategy is or what they're doing with that, but they can't. It has to stop. It has to stop. There's too many dumping the pucks and just dump and chase. They're not carrying the puck to the zone. They're not having any sustained offensive zone. I know you could say, hey, listen, Toronto's selling out at that point, so they have to sit back. Well, if that's the case, we should have more opportunities going forward on some, 2-on-1s. The Rangers got nothing going. They had 0 offensive zone sustained time, basically in the final 7 minutes of that game. But they ended on a high note. Right now, going into the All-Star break, the Rangers now sit 10 points back at Carolina. They're in 3rd place, 6 points back of the New Jersey Devils. I think they're in a good spot right now. Considering the slow start they had, they've been playing great hockey since Trouba's helmet throw, and Halak has played great. The guy switched up his helmet. Dave Art posted on December 7th his new mask, and Halak was struggling all year long. And since the new mask, the guy's 5-0, like a 1.80 goals allowed, like a 9-something save percentage. He's been outstanding since he's gotten the new mask change. That's all the guy needed. He needed a new paint job, and now he's back at it. So Halak's been really good, but Philip Hedl, 16 goals now on the year, now 3rd in the team in scoring. This guy found it last year during the playoffs. He found the scoring touch. He's kept that confidence going. He's taking the steps that we want to see out of the next 2 kids. But listen, it's taken him a couple years. Hedl's been around for 6 years now. So 5 years, 6 years, whatever he's been around now. So, it's taken him a while to get it going. So you have to have patience with Kakko and Lafreniere. I think Kakko has had a much better year than Lafreniere has. Considering he's got Kakko's got 23 points in the year this year. I guess Lafreniere's got 22. He's right behind him, but Kakko scored a couple more goals, and has played a little bit bigger minutes than Lafreniere in certain games. But look at this Rangers team where the production's coming. Like Jimmy Vesey's got 9 goals for you. Like you did not think that was coming. Barclay Goodrow again's having a good year. 9 goals and 23 points. So they have a very balanced scoring, but then the back end, the 4th line's got nothing. Really nothing production down there. So when you look where the Rangers need to go for this trade deadline, you've heard the Kane, you've heard, the kid out in San Jose. Like, the Rangers need something going forward, because Hedl's been really picking up for the kid line on the 3rd line. But if you keep the kid line together, you can't. Listen, I love Jimmy Vesey, but he is so much better on a 4th line player. Same with Barclay Goodrow. Those guys on the 4th line are so much better down there. You can't have them in the top 6. So you got to go out and get a scorer for that top 6. You got to have someone either playing with Kreider and Zibanejad or Trocheck and Panarin. You figure it out where they're going to go, but they need some kind of a piece up there and figure out what the hell they're going to do with Kravtsov. The kid's only played 27 games this year. He's gotten 3 goals What is his deal? What is his future look like with this team? Is he gonna get traded? What's their plan? Because obviously, him sitting on the bench or playing fourth line minutes, that's not the plan. That's not what they want from this kid, or what they need from this kid. So it comes back to, if he's not going to play, then trade him. And if he's a trading chip, what kind of value does he have? Does he still hold some type of a first-round value to him? Can you get a scorer back from him that can make an immediate impact on the Rangers team this year? Are you looking for a guy who can maybe make immediate impact for that line as a Bertuzzi kind of player who maybe you re-sign the offseason? I don't know what his ask is going to be, but he's a pending UFA from Detroit. So we'll see. We'll see what the Rangers bring in. I know Larry Brooks, again, came out and said the Rangers are still looking for defensive depth. I had a friend of mine who was close to the Winnipeg organization up there say the Rangers were sniffing around Logan Stanley a couple weeks ago. I'm not sure if they're still interested in him, but he's definitely a guy who would fit the bill there, 6'7", big defenseman. Is an RFA at the end of the year, so he could be a guy that the Rangers bring in on a 1 year, kind of see what they get out of him and maybe re-sign him for a cheaper contract this offseason. Obviously, with the cap crunch, they're not going to be able to go after a big-time defenseman that can stick around, so maybe he's a guy they do target considering what his price range will probably be next year to re-sign. And that should be the All-Star game should be fun. 3 Rangers back in the All-Star game. As much as I love Panarin, I do think they got the wrong Ranger forward. I think Zibanejad should have been the representative if there was going to be a forward playing there. But it's pretty cool to see a forward, D, and goaltender going from one team. So obviously Igor will be there. Adam Fox, which is very well deserved from Fox, averaging just under a point per game. 48 points in 49 games, and Zibanejad's now at a point per game. And hey, listen, Artemi's over a point per game. He's got 50 points. He's not scoring the goals, but he's got 38 assists, which is tied for Fox with the team lead. And one other thing I got to talk about, and I love him. I'm a big Kreider supporter. If you've listened to this show, I've been a Kreider supporter since day one. When they re-signed him, I was one of the few Ranger fans who was probably happy about it. A guy who really has turned his image around to all this fan base, because he was Jacob Trouba hate that happens now. That was what Chris Kreider was getting 2 years ago before he scored 50 goals. He's got 20 goals this year, which shocked me the other day when I was looking at the numbers. That might be the quietest 20 goals I've ever seen a player score. And because he's had so many opportunities that I feel like have been missed, that you kind of wonder, how did he get the 20 goals? He's only got 4 power play goals, but how many times has he hit a post? How many times has he just chipped a puck wider, missed it? I feel like there's been so many misses that really outweighs his goals and his production. But to see him, he got 20 goals the other night in his 700th game as a Ranger, which is very cool to see. Chris Kreider will go down as one of the best New York Rangers of all time when you look at his numbers and everything. Maybe the guy wins a cup towards the end of his career. Who knows? But he's a guy, I was talking with another Ranger fan the other day, and they're like, who's the next Ranger that you can see maybe get their number retired? And I think, not going back, because I think Greshner might deserve it, or, I think Emil Francis deserves to have some kind of recognition in the Garden, or any of those early guys. But, I think Ron Greshner should be up there possibly. Someone said Barry Beck the other day. Barry Beck was a good Ranger. I don't think he deserves to go up in the rafters, but I think Barry Beck was a good Ranger. I think Brad Park could possibly have his number retired one day up for the Rangers. But you look at the current guys or recent guys, Adam Fox is the name that I think comes to mind, considering his production early in his career, the long-term contract he did sign. I think he's the guy. Maybe, you can think Igor down the line if he wins a cup, or, has a career similar to Lundqvist where he's Vezina trophies and, world-class goaltender. But Chris Kreider has to be up on that list. Looking at his numbers, he's going to be towards the top of every Rangers goal-scoring record. I think he already holds the playoff record for most goals scored, I believe, from last. He worked that last year, title last year. He's going to be closing in the next couple of years on Rod Gilbert's all-time goals record here. Was a 406 from Gilbert. So, if he goes down as the greatest goal scorer in Rangers history, I think he might have his number retired at the Garden if he continues the way he's playing. And he's got 20 goals now, that he'll be somewhere in the mid 30 to high 30 range, depending on if he can get really hot here towards the end of the year. So don't sleep on Chris Kreider maybe putting up another 35 goals this year. But quietly, 4 power play goals only. Zibanejad's got 13. Trocheck's got 8. Yeah, seeing Chris Kreider, he went almost 30 power play goals last year, going to just 4 this year. It shows one, he's playing better on 5-on-5, scoring better 5-on-5 than last year. But all those missed opportunities in the power play, all those missed, and the power plays obviously struggled this year, and you could see from his production, why it struggled. But maybe get Chris Kreider going more here, even though it's tough to say guys not playing well with 20 goals, but he has struggled. In that Toronto game, he had a wide open net and missed a goal there. So he's just a guy that I think if the Rangers get him really going and really hot, and he catches fire, he'll score 9-10 goals in 10 games. He gets his stretches where he just racks up points and racks up goals. If they get him going in the second half, that's big for the Rangers. So very excited for the All-Star game, though. They have a ton of great. The skills competition is always fun, too. So if you look it up on NHL.com, posted all the crazy stuff they're doing. It should be fun to watch, and I think the NHL is probably the most entertaining All-Star game of all of them. The dunk contest is still cool, and the home run derby is still cool, but I think all in all, the whole weekend, the NHL has a better product. The NBA is just a dunk contest in the game itself. MLB is just a normal baseball game, which is not very exciting. And the NFL now going flag football. So, they just realize that their game's awful, so they're going to do something different. So, I think the NHL is still the best All-Star weekend total. So, it should be fun to watch this weekend. But we have a great guest this week. We're joined by Jacksonville Icemen goaltender. He's actually seen some action up in Hartford this year. He just got called up in December, but didn't see a game, but he played there in the preseason. Parker Gahagen joins us, and what a great story. He went to West Point, the Army. Just an incredible story from playing in West Point, one of the best goaltenders ever in that school's history. You go look up his stats. It's incredible, the honors and awards that he won there. And then, obviously, you go to West Point, you were in the Army. You were in an active duty. So there's a crazy journey of him getting, waivers to play pro hockey and then not getting waivers pro hockey and missing a whole season and having to serve a whole season and coming back. And just a crazy story, his journey to playing pro. The Rangers signed this last offseason after he won a ECHL championship last year with the Nashville Predators organization with the Florida Everblades. And like I said, Hartford signed him to a contract. Early in the year, he was in training camp with Hartford, was sent to Jacksonville, has played very well down there in Jacksonville, was called up for a couple of games in Hartford, didn't see any action, got sent back to Jacksonville. But it's just a really cool hockey story. So it was great to talk with him and to learn more about his career path, which is just nuts. So I hope you guys enjoy that. But before we send to interview with Parker, I do want to tell you about our sponsors over at InTheClutch.com. Listen, hockey season's here. MLB's heating back up. The Super Bowl's coming up. NBA's in full action. You're looking for your team gear. There's only one place to go. That's InTheClutch.com. We've released some Ranger t-shirts on there last year. There's a ton of hockey stuff, a ton of old defunct teams too. Very cool stuff on there. Looking for some old East Coast Hockey League shirts. They got everything on there. It's very cool. Very cool stuff. Very cool vintage stuff on there. Great material. It is so soft. You can wear the t-shirt to bed, wear it to the games. You can wear it anywhere you want to go. So make sure you go check out InTheClutch.com. And when you do, use promo code Broadway to save 10% off any purchase you make today. So use the code Broadway at InTheClutch.com and go check them out and go get your gear today. All right, we're now joined by a very special guest, the goaltender for the Jacksonville Icemen. He actually just had an appearance up in Hartford a couple weeks ago, but Parker Gahagen, thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So first off, I want to get into signing with the Rangers this last offseason. You just popped up and down to Hartford. How's the year going so far for you?
It's going pretty well. I'd say just organization-wise, it was a great experience going to, Rangers camp and, the Hartford camp, and then ending up in Jacksonville. I think organizationally, I think it's a great group of guys. And then also just just the experience, the resources we've received have, kind of set you up for success. And, on individual level, it's gone pretty well. And just keep rolling away here.
We had your coaches on recently. We both coached. We had Nick and Brennan on, and they were talking about the new facilities and everything, and how great they are, and how they think it's gonna be the best in the coast.
Yeah, it's definitely been a work in progress. I think right now we go in there. There's a new ice sheet installed, so we're able to skate on that. And right now they're doing the finishing touches on the locker room and the workout room in that area. So I think once that's all completed, it's with deadlines and construction, you never know exactly when that's going to happen, but it's definitely an exciting time to be a part of the organization and, kind of see what the end result is.
And I gotta ask this: you grew up in Buffalo, and I think I'm the answer, but who was your favorite team growing up?
Hockey wise,
Yeah.
yeah, I was definitely Sabres growing up. I
Okay.
mean,
Okay.
especially during that era. I mean, the 05, 06 team, you had Chris Jericho, yeah, he was on there. You got Briere, Afenaghenov, like those guys. It was a fun team to watch, and they definitely had a bit of extended rebuild, you could say, for 10 years or so. But I think right now they're starting to be another enjoyable team to watch again. And it's good to see. Obviously, not part of the organization, but it's good to see them just as a Buffalonian, seeing them as a team that's kind of up and coming, and definitely. I think they're like a few points out of a playoff spot, which they haven't been in a while in January.
They're fun to watch. I mean, they can score the
Yeah.
puck. Maybe they need a little bit more goaltending, but no,
Well, it's a
they.
team effort.
Now, did you find Chris Drury during training camp and let him know that you idolized him growing up, or no?
I don't think our conversations got that in depth. It was more so just hi, and especially during camp, he's got some other things to do. So I'm just there to play, and he's balancing a few balls, I would say.
Now, who was your favorite goalie growing up? Was it Hasek or was it Miller?
I think it had to be Miller. I mean, Hasek, obviously he's a great goaltender and everything, but I don't think anyone can really replicate his processes. I don't know if you could say fundamentals. I'm not sure if they're what his fundamentals really were, but just his game itself was very unique. So I was able to relate more with Miller growing up.
And then did I see Michael Pekka was your junior coach?
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. He's he helped me get connected with West Point when I was playing, for the Buffalo Junior Sabres, and he was a great guy to talk to and be around. And then another guy like Marty Baron, I'm still in touch with him nowadays. So I feel like in Buffalo, you definitely, and being a part of the Buffalo Junior Sabres, I was able to kind of have a greater connection with those guys.
Not bad having an ex-NHL superstar like Pekka shooting on you too in practice. That's pretty good.
Yeah, no, he was fun to be around, and yeah, just having that repertoire that he had, and he was always someone that you could learn from, and just talk to and kind of hear his experiences and stuff like that. So he was always interesting to talk to.
Now, are you a member of Bill's Mafia as well?
I think you have to be. I mean,
Okay.
there's definitely more difficult times. There was that early 2000s. After the four falls, it took a long time to get back to where they are now. But it's definitely a devastating loss. Last week, but you just, I guess you kind of have to take things into perspective, and think things could be a lot worse.
Is there a table thing in your contract? No table jumping during the hockey
they
season, or no?
they didn't add that, so maybe I could definitely try it. See what happens.
There we go. I think we need a full goalie gear jump off one of those RVs. That'll be fun.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty safe, I would say, as long as
Yeah,
you
exactly.
don't set the table on fire.
So you committed to West Point. What was that process like for you? What other colleges were you looking at? And obviously, there's a huge commitment when it comes with it going to the military academy.
Yeah, I'd say the process was, I mean, they originally reached out to me. I think we had just played a game in Milton, I believe. And they just kind of, that was the first time I got homework. Little did I know that'd get much worse going there. But so they kind of gave me a little homework just to kind of look up West Point, just kind of see exactly what the school brought, and the challenges, but also the opportunity that that presents people. And so that was kind of my first introduction to it. And the process, I mean, it was really once you decide to go there, there's definitely a process of having to get medical approvals and a bunch of different approvals. One thing you're able to get past is just the congressional approval, just because of the timeline, as at least for hockey players. I mean, it's a turnaround of maybe 6 months, as opposed to people who commit to going there like a year and a half in advance. So for me, I had, it was kind of funny. I found out that I was red green colorblind during the process. I went to one of the doctor's appointments. They give you that book with the, has like all the different bubbles in it, and they're all different colors, and they're like, oh, what number is this? So the first one's easy. I always get the first one, and then I go 0 for 20 after that. So so that was an interesting turn of events. So I had to get a couple medical waivers after I learned that. That also disqualified me from branching aviation. So that was, but yeah, I mean, besides that, it was, once you decide you want to go there, you report there July 1st and kind of go through the 6 weeks of basic training over the summer. So you don't just show up for school. In August, there's
you just show up in August, a bunch of stuff
yeah.
in a futon. You can't just do that.
No, unfortunately not.
And I'm sure Coach Riley probably held his breath when he heard that his goalie was blind before they said colorblind.
Yeah, yeah, it does. I don't know if he knew that or not. He never had to, I never had to disclose the information to him. As long as they weren't shooting like red pucks in a green background or something, I was probably fine. Yeah.
So yeah, I've been to West Point a couple times for football games, and the campus is just absolutely beautiful. It's one of my favorite places to go visit, and right on the Hudson. If you haven't been there, you have to go check it out. Football games are awesome. I've not been to a hockey game yet. And I'm a U.S. history major, so I love all that, history stuff and walk around and everything, which is great. But when you get there, obviously you're playing and you're also have commitments now to the hockey, to the actual military. So how tough is it juggling all your trainings and then also hockey training?
Yeah, I would say that first year definitely presented a lot of challenges. I think it's, like kind of like you said, there's a lot of different things you have to juggle. You're not only adapting to like Division I hockey, but you also have, the military part of it where, there's just different things as a freshman or plebe, however you want to refer to, as a freshman going in there. But you have different distractions. So like every night you have different duties that you're kind of expected to partake in or help with. So there's like laundry duty, there's, I don't know, orderlies, like taking out the trash. So there's different stuff like that where you're expected to be there. And there's also the academic side of it as well. I mean, that first year, I think it's kind of trial by fire. They try and filter out the people that aren't, they don't think will make it. And oftentimes that's the time when if people are going to leave, that first year is when they will leave. So academically, they try and it's called the Thayer method, where they you're expected to learn the material the day before you actually learn it in class. So it's definitely a bit of a challenge. It's they give you a lot of work to do, and understand that you really don't have the time to do it, especially playing a sport. I mean, that I think I got to the rink around 3 o'clock most days, and then you're not back to the barracks until, I don't know, like probably 7, I would say. And then you have 2-3 hours to do some work and then go to sleep and then repeat. So it's yeah, I'd say like the biggest thing I learned was just like compartmentalizing. So just kind of once you got up to the rink, it was focusing on hockey, and then once you got back to the barracks, it's back to school, back to the military side of things. So I'd say that, and then also just time management was a great lesson you had to learn. Really wasn't an option to learn it. You kind of had to kind of had to figure it out if you were to survive. So yeah, those are just some great qualities that I kind of still use in my day-to-day life now.
Well, you went on to have an outstanding career there. I mean, really one of the best goaltenders in West Point history. All-time leader in saves, save percentage, two-time team MVP award winner. I'll keep on going on. Hold on. Hobie Baker nominee, Mike Richter Award semifinalist, Lowe's All-American. I mean, the list goes on and on. I mean, what an incredible run you had there.
Yeah, I would say like those first couple of years, my freshman year was definitely that transition. But by the end of it, I was, basically the number one guy at the end of the year. So I think, just being able to build off that, going to the sophomore year, having a pretty good year that year. And then, my junior year, we had goalie coach come in, Ryan Hall, and I was able to kind of really click with him. Just kind of what he was saying just made a lot of sense to me. It's kind of like that with a lot of, most people. I think people can say things and, it translates to some, but not everyone. And, that's indicative to, just kind of like leading people as well. There's people that respond well to different types of, motivations, I guess. So, screaming at someone might motivate someone, and then, it might cause someone else to go into a shell. So it's so just when I was working with him, it just a lot of the stuff he said just really made sense in my head. It was something I was able to immediately put into effect, and it definitely allowed me to have some success there. And then also just the team just kept growing. I think when I initially got there my freshman year, we just had one senior. So, obviously there's, you need leadership within the team. And, I thought he definitely provided that, but you're kind of outnumbered when there's just one of you. So, so just going through those first couple of years, kind of getting to be in, a rhythm and understanding, kind of what I needed to do to be successful. Just there, kind of understanding that it's really just a game, just the whole military side of it. And, people, you don't have to take things too seriously. So, yeah, I think just by that third year, I was able to kind of get in a rhythm. And then, the team kept improving every year I was there, and, were able to have a couple good runs those last 2 years. And I was able to be a benefactor of that.
And obviously your success there led to pro hockey opportunities, but when you leave the military, there's a commitment that you make, for years after that. Now, I know you had a special dispensation on how to play. How did that all play out, and talk about that?
Yeah, so my senior year, there was like going into May, which is when our graduation was, there was a policy that you could fulfill your commitment. So the normal commitment is 5 years active duty and then 3 years of reserve time. But going into the graduation, there was a policy where you could basically translate all that time just into reserve time. So doing 8 years of reserves as opposed to the active duty obligation. And then I started like the process of doing that, and, sent the packet in, whatever. And then I found out a couple weeks before graduation that they reverted the policy, and it went back to doing the 2 years active duty before you can basically do anything. So that was a tough time. So I was definitely a little depressed for a little bit, but General Milley, he played Princeton hockey when he was going to college. I think he did ROTC there. He was the Joint Chief of Staff of the Army at that time, and big supporter of the hockey team. So he kind of helped me find a way to, keep playing. So after I graduated, So I went to Bullock, which is, like your officer course. And during that time, I was able to kind of, oh, I guess I should go back a little bit. So I had an entry level contract with San Jose. And then just due to the policy changing in the first place, I wasn't able to sign the contract. So basically during that summer, I went to like their development camp. And then while I was at that basic officer course, so I got there, say August 1st, and it was like a 3-month course. So, I mean, it ended around Halloween, November 1st. So during the school, I was able to go to San Jose's rookie camp. So basically just took a week of leave, went to rookie camp, and then had to go back and finish school. So after I finished that school, I was able to join it was called the World Class Athlete Program. Initially it was designed for, well, it is designed for like Olympic athletes and or soldiers to like pursue their Olympic dreams. They just have to have certain qualifications. At the time, there was never been a hockey player in the program, but the commander at the time he was an old Army hockey player. So I was was a little I was a little fortunate on that front. It was a connection that allowed me to get into the program in the first place, and it happened to be an Olympic year. So I was able to get into the program. So that bought me a little bit of time because I think, ended up choosing the team in, late January, early February. So I was able to, after that school, I went to San Jose. I think I got there on Halloween, and I was able to just be a normal hockey player for a little bit. I don't know if I should say normal because I was just signing. I basically just signed PTOs because I couldn't sign like my normal entry level just because of the Army, and they didn't want me to double dip. And once, so I wasn't selected for that Olympic team. So once that happened, I basically just had to get up and leave. So then,
really? So once you didn't make the Olympic
Yeah.
team, they were like, "All right, you're
Yeah.
no more." No,
Yeah,
okay.
no more. So basically, the World Class Athlete Program, it's based out of Fort Carson, Colorado, which is in Colorado Springs. So basically within that base, I got transferred to a different unit. So I, basically just had to go to Fort Carson and join a battalion, and and then I was just a normal Army officer for a bit. Wasn't a hockey player anymore at that point. Played a lot of beer league though during that year. So it was like a year and a half where, so you can't be in the program more than 3 years from like the next Olympics. So there was like a year at that point where, I really couldn't do anything. I was just kind of stuck. Yeah. So,
wow.
yeah, so I just enjoyed, the Army part of thing. That was another tough transition. I just had to, be depressed for a little bit and then get over it. So I was, definitely looking back, it was definitely a great experience. I was able to, meet a lot of people that I definitely wouldn't have if, just being in the hockey world. The Army's just full of people with a bunch of different journeys, different backgrounds. So, I was definitely fortunate to have that experience, even whether I wanted to or not. But
did you walk around and let people know, like, I had a contract with the Sharks, but I'm here now. Like, they don't think you're full of crap. Like, yeah, there's no chance. Like, you had an NHL contract for you. Yeah, no chance.
Yeah, word definitely got out. I didn't. That wasn't my pitch or the first thing I said getting there. But but once I got there, I was able to make the most of the opportunity and enjoy the experience. And then, I mean, the Army was almost a more stable life,
The
way of life
hockey.
than hockey, I would say. You're bound to be at a post for 3 years at a time. Unless you get deployed, I guess that's the only difference. But um, you're basically stationed somewhere for about 3 years and then you leave. So that's a lot more consistent than a hockey lifestyle.
Yeah, and your
But
first year back, I mean, you made a few stops, and
yeah,
are you still active right now?
so I got out last March,
Okay,
so almost a year ago.
that's crazy. So you've been playing this whole time. So is this your first contract you've been able to sign, or have you been able to sign other ones since then, or have you been in the program the entire time?
Yeah, this was the first normal contract I was able to sign. It was kind of weird. I was able to just accept the contract without having to get different approvals from the army and then balancing that between my agent and then and then them just saying, there's different stipulations that need to be met every year. So it was a lot easier this summer for sure.
That's crazy. Yeah, well, you made your grand return to hockey, and you didn't pick an easy path. You went to the Southern Pro Hockey League, which we've had a couple guys on, and that is a tough league to get into. And you've reached the American Hockey League. I don't think I've ever seen anyone go from the SPHL to the AHL in 1 year.
Yeah, it was a trip. I thought maybe I should have just started in the Fed and would have just added an extra level to that. But yeah, it was definitely a little bit interesting to start there. I think I had a coast contract with Greenville, but obviously those don't really mean anything leading into the year. So it was more just like a tryout thing, and then they got a couple guys sent down for Florida. So then I was left with with no options. And I guess when you don't play for a year, you kind of fall off the face of the earth. It's out of sight, out of mind type of thing. So, and then it was kind of hard to get an SP contract. A lot of teams were just, they didn't want me to sign me because they were like, well, he's just going to leave in a couple weeks anyway. So it was kind of tough getting someone to sign me in the SP, honestly. But I got that opportunity in Evansville, and then I think I was there for 2 or 3 weeks, played a couple games, and then got called to Newfoundland. And yeah, I'd say Newfoundland and Toronto, that was it was definitely a great experience being a part of that organization. And yeah, I was definitely pretty fortunate to end up there. There's a lot worse places you could be, and
Yeah.
yeah, and just the amount of resources they have on tap, and and just the people in the organization. It was a lot of fun. Newfoundland's a great community. Just
I don't know
loved
about
going back
Newfoundland
there
in the
last year.
winter. Newfoundland in the winter, though, that's got to be a little rough.
It's a little rough. We got snowed in for like a week and a half when I was there. We were like, you couldn't go anywhere. Yeah, it was like the snow was above the door frames, and
Oh, jeez.
I think our athletic trainer lived above me, so he actually shoveled me out, which was nice of him. But yeah, it was. I think we were snowed in for like a week and a half. I think that was in January of 2021. It was 2020, 2020, I think. And yeah, so I was just doing some stuff in our apartment, and then once we got the go ahead to leave, we basically had to hop on a plane, and the same day we hadn't skated in like a week and a half, and then we flew to Reading, had a morning skates, and then played a game that day. So it's a quick turnaround.
That's quick turnaround.
Yeah.
What was your biggest adjustment going from? I don't think I've asked this to a goal yet. From college to the American Hockey League, what was your biggest adjustment the first year going to San Jose?
Yeah, I'd say it's definitely like different things because in college I think you can play a little deeper, like as far as depth, and be able to get away with it, just because guys, as far as moving the puck laterally and picking corners, it's not necessarily the same. I think AHL guys are able to kind of pick those corners a bit better, and and also just like make those lateral passes a little bit quicker. So I would say just getting used to the depth portion of it, and then getting adjusted to just being a little bit further out from the goal line. And I think there's definitely guys that can you can definitely be successful playing a little bit deeper, but I think in college it's you're able to get away with a little bit more. So I'd say that's one of them. And then I mean, I guess also just going from school, it was like very regimented, obviously.
Yeah,
So
yours is a little bit more. Yeah.
yeah. So then once you get some free time, you're like, oh well, what am I supposed? What should I be doing now? You're looking for someone to give you something to do. So I think that as well, and it's I think there's definitely elements to like my game in college that I still stick to today, but I think it's just kind of finding what works for you. It's like you know everyone's kind of their own person, so one person's game doesn't always gel with somebody else. So kind of just tinkering with that and figuring out what works.
And you moved over to the Avs organization after with the Leafs. But I want to talk about your time in Nashville. Was that your first NHL training camp with the Preds?
Yes.
So talk about that. Like, how cool was that experience?
Yeah, it was definitely exciting going into it, and then just being able to kind of work side by side, especially with Saros. I mean, that guy's he's like it's probably one of the best scares I've ever seen. I don't like as far as like what he can do laterally, and I think he kind of has to just due to being like a little bit undersized. You kind of have to figure out ways to be successful, and I think his skating was just pretty eye opening and something I definitely strove to improve that year. But as far as that, and then just playing with like Duchesne and Yossi and those guys, it's it was just a lot of fun. And and I think just it's always fun just being able to play with those guys and playing up to the highest level. Whatever level you're at, I think it forces you to kind of up your game as well. So it's it's just you just know you're having a good time because you feel like you're playing well, and then you're you feel like you're improving as well as just kind of competing against the best, I guess.
And when to put one like by your ear, you're like, oh wow, that came pretty quick.
Trying to think who it. I mean, I'd say it's like at first you kind of have, it's kind of like when you go golfing that first time of the year, you have like no expectations. You're just like going out there having fun. It's like there's no pressure or anything. It was kind of like that. The first couple of days are great, and then you kind of build some expectations on yourself. And when things don't go quite your way, you're like, what I do those first 2 days, I'm not doing now. So it's, but I would say. I mean, Duchesne was like one of the first guys. It's just the one that pops into my mind, but
Yeah.
just kind of what he can do with the puck, just that in tight, just forces you to, be able to move pretty quickly and, and just kind of get the puck elevated, that quickly, and kind of change the angles. It's a little bit eye opening, but yeah. So that's my answer. Let's go with that.
Okay. And you end up having a great year with Florida last year. You guys win the Kelly Cup, and personally, you had an outstanding season. You were, top in the league in goals allowed and save percentage. So, and 20 wins too, which is also always a big feat for goaltender.
Yeah.
So what was it about last year that really kind of your whole game came together? Because you've had good years before that, but last year you kind of became the man in net there.
Yeah, I would say, I think just playing often, I think always helps. I definitely feel like I feel like for most guys, it's like the more you play, the better you feel because you're able to get into a bit more of a rhythm. When you're playing, say like I don't know, once every other week or something like that, it's definitely more difficult. It's not not really an excuse, but it's just it's more difficult to kind of get into a better rhythm and feeling good and everything. So I think playing that often, and then also I think it was it's kind of a great team to be around. It was pretty structured, as far as in the defensive zone and everything. So um, I feel like they made like most things pretty predictable, especially in in this league. It can be kind of tough. It's I think they describe the East Coast League as kind of just chaos, and then the AHL's organized chaos, and then the NHL is just organized. I think is what I believe is what the mantra is. So so to be able to have a structured approach, in this league is definitely helpful to, especially to goalies, just kind of like understanding, the chances that they're going to give up, and also just kind of knowing where your team's going to be. It just makes everything more predictable. And I'd say the stuff that happens when that you're not expecting are the ones that are the most difficult, I would say. So not only I would say it wasn't just my game; it was just kind of the structure that the team operated in as well that helped.
So after that season last year, obviously you have a great year. You guys won the championship. There had to be some teams calling. So how did you land on the Rangers?
Well, I mean, I feel like the one-way contract was, pretty intriguing, and then also just, I just felt like it was a good place to go as far as, I think just because of the history of the organization as well. I think I thought back to my time in Toronto, and just the amount of resources and just just the history of the organization was it was just exciting to be a part of. And I feel like the Rangers presented a similar opportunity, I would say. And then also, it's just having conversations with Ryan Martin, and just the different goalie coaches and Benoit and all that stuff. So it was yeah, I just like the vibe, and I feel like they were saying all the right things, and it was yeah, I was pretty intrigued, and then also it just felt like the right fit.
How about Ben Waller? Obviously, he has history of these outstanding goaltenders underneath him, Henrik Lundqvist and now Igor Shesterkin. What has he worked with you on so far? Like, what have you guys talked about?
I feel like he just keeps everything pretty simple, I would say. He's not really trying to change your game or anything like that. It's more so just kind of doing like what I was talking about earlier. Like every guy has to be their own person, and not one thing works for everyone. So I think he kind of allows you to operate in your comfort zone, and what makes you know your best version of yourself. So I think as long as you're kind of staying between the puck and the nets, more than for like more than a certain percentage of the time, it's you can't really complain, and you're so it was, I think, just talking with him, he's a fun guy to be around, and I think his personality, and just his philosophy, just I think it carries down through the organization, and just kind of it just allows for people to and goalies to kind of operate to just give them the freedom to figure out their own games, and just figure out what works best for them.
Now, so you go to training camp with the Rangers this year. Obviously, Igor's coming off of a Vezina Trophy season. What were your first impressions of him?
Yeah, I would say um, it was. I mean, he's obviously like the best goalie at the time, and he's still putting up great numbers this year. So he's definitely someone you wanted to definitely pay attention to kind of what he was doing, just to see if he had any like a secret water bottle or something, like like what was the
Like secret stuff, yeah.
secret stuff. You know, if you had any of that, you know, maybe some of the Russian fuel or whatever. You know, maybe find the formula or something. But besides that, you know, it's just something you're going to watch and then just kind of see how he operates. So you're always looking to. I feel like anyone that's kind of trying to kind of reach their potential is always trying to be better. And I think kind of like what I was talking about with Saros was his movement, his mobility. That was kind of one thing I noticed with him, and then that was kind of one thing I worked on when I was in Nashville. And then I guess just watching Shesty this year, it's I feel like he has like a simplicity to his game, which I think is one thing that Benoit kind of preaches and has found successful. I mean, when you look at Lundqvist, like he wasn't out there challenging excessively. Like he also wasn't he wasn't that tall either. So it's not like he's Mike Smith or something just standing on the goal line because he's 6 foot, whatever. So I think it's, there's definitely something to be said just for having that, kind of that patience to your game, just kind of allowing the game to come to you, and, and then just kind of having the confidence and, trusting your game just to kind of let the puck come to, it's got to come to you eventually. Right. So, so I would say just, I'd say just that patience and just the simplicity of it as well.
Any guys in that camp stand out to you? Like, did anyone like have a heavy shot or anything like that? That you're like, oh wow.
Let me think. That's tough. That's let's see.
Was there a goal scored on you that you got a little pissed about afterwards?
I got pissed. Maybe Panarin, he scored on me on a shootout or a penalty shot. That wasn't my best effort, Was
Hey, he's doing that to every other goal in the NHL.
I know.
Did he do the slow down hand thing, or did he go right with the move?
Yeah, he came across the slot, just went really slowly, and then it's tough to to kind of get that rotation and maintain your edges. Kind of when to go in that, especially when it's him. Like, if you can't tell if he's going to shoot, do a quick release or something. So,
How tough is that tracking the puck though? Like, so you're like, because it looks like he's moving in slow motion, but it's got to be extremely difficult. Obviously, he does it every night against NHL goaltending, and they can't figure it out.
Yeah, I'd say just with kind of when you slow down like that, it's you're forcing the goalie to, especially when you come across like that. I call it the slot line, but it's basically the middle of the slot. Like at that point, you kind of have to change your positioning, like your angle, I guess. So when you're on the left side, you're obviously angled more to the left. You're opened up, I guess, that way. And then once you hit that middle and have to go across, that's kind of when you have to, adjust the angle at which you're facing. So I think anytime you cross that, and then you also kind of have to maintain that drift backwards. Kind of like once you lose that drift and you kind of get flat-footed, that's when you can start looking stupid. So it's,
that's when he hit. That's when he hits.
Yeah. So even though they're coming slowly and almost not directly at you, you still have to kind of maintain that drift and kind of maintain those edges.
Yeah, I can't. It's crazy. He comes in like so slow. You're like, oh. Like this is, and he is like the guy every night. Him and Fox too. He's incredible. Yeah. He looks like he's moving in slow motion too out there. It's incredible.
Yeah, you wouldn't think it's that
hard. How now? I overtime. The shootouts now. Is it more nerve wracking in overtime for like when you're standing there as a goalie that everyone's just watching you? Like, is there a little nerves? What are the nerves like for that?
I feel like you're being watched at all times, so I don't think the shootout really. I'd say at that point it's I don't know. I feel like the shootout you're probably more, I guess, free in a way. There's not many, like, it doesn't really affect your stats minus the win or loss, I guess, at that point, unless you're Robin Leonard, who had the he had a tough shootout record. I remember a
Yeah.
few years back, so he became well known for that. So, but I would say it's you kind of just kind. I'd say you just do the same thing you've done on the whole game, really, and I think that's just kind of. I mean, it just depends how you want to look at it, really. If you want to put a lot of pressure on yourself and just get nervous, I think you can do that, or else you can kind of look at it as another opportunity and a time to shine, I guess, when all the lights are looking at you and people are looking at you. So I think it's a lot of things. It's all about perspective.
Do you add a little flair to any saves? Maybe like glove save, flash it up a little bit on the shootouts, or no?
I wouldn't say I use flash. I would say I try to make it look easy, and then that's my form of flash.
Okay. All right. Igor does the little flash the glove afterwards and make it look like,
Oh yeah.
He does the whole windmill sometimes on the
Yeah.
the easy glove save on the breakaway just to get the crowd fired up.
Yeah.
He shot the open. Did you see him shoot at the net the other night? Just missed the
Yeah.
open net.
Yeah, I did see that.
Have we taken any shots this year? Are we gonna score a goal or what?
it has the opportunity hasn't come up yet this year, but I'm always looking for the opportunity. Maybe not down by one or up by one, but if you have that 2-goal cushion, definitely pops into the back of your mind.
I'll say, is that like immediately pop up in the back of your mind, like 5-3, like okay,
yeah,
and 2 minutes left here.
Net, I'd say team's up by 2, minute left or so. I think that's maybe if someone like dumps it in on you or something, you might do a quick transition from the glove to the stick or something. But you definitely want to feel confident in your shooting abilities.
Now, during a practice, you practice that at all or no?
I would, a little bit. It's not, just.
What's the accuracy like right now?
I'd say the accuracy is pretty good. I think it's just elevating it to. I think because it needs to hit a certain elevation, you have to get it over people usually. So I think that's the challenging part is getting the elevation, but the accuracy. But if no one else is on the ice, which is unlikely, I think I could be pretty accurate at it.
So the C's part is a random line change there. You're good to go there.
Yeah. Dumping it on me, everyone changes. I should have a good opportunity to score.
All right. Have you taken any shots in recent years at the net? Have you had any close opportunities?
Nothing, not yet.
Nothing,
not really notable.
And then I have to ask this question. We have to have a goalie this goalie fight. I mean, in the coast, it could happen any night. Has anyone challenged you yet? Has that ever come in the back of your mind when there's a little bit of a line melee?
No, no one's ever really tried, but I don't think I would partake. I think that's kind of someone else's job.
All right. They probably know that you're an Army officer and probably have to mess with you too.
I'm not scared. I just don't think that's really my role.
No, I'm saying on the scouting report, they're like, okay, Army officer, let's not fight him. Let's not go
after him. Maybe that's on the scouting report. Who knows?
Your goalie mask. I love it. The Scooby-Doo on the side of it. When did you start incorporating that?
I think I started doing it in college. My nickname was Scooby in college, and then I really tried to embrace it just because there's a lot worse nicknames out there. So I'm like, I'm going to roll with this one. And once I decided that, I started putting him on. He was on my second mask in college, and then I've tried to put him on all my masks while I've been pro. I'm trying to think. There's one. I don't know if I put him on my Toronto one or not, but all the other ones. So San Jose, Colorado, Milwaukee, and then my Hartford one this year he's been on there. So I think it's just like a fun thing to do. And I use Dave Art for all my masks and kind of allow him to do his creative thing. And I just kind of provide some maybe just some parameters, and then he kind of operates within those. Yeah, but I'd say my favorite one was the one last year with Milwaukee, because he we put like a pirate hat on him. He had like a sword in his mouth. It was good work.
And he's like the world's most famous mask designer too. He does all the big guys. I mean, and
Yeah.
I think probably Ranger fans know him because Lundqvist used him for all those years.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, his stuff is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. He's done. I've been happy with all the masks he's made for me, and yeah, he's fun to work with. He's got his paint barn, so he's
I
just
follow him on Instagram. I watch all the stuff. I love it. I want to do like a live because he won't show it live because then he'll see what the guy's going to.
yeah,
But I want to see like kind of like him do his magic. I think that'd be awesome.
yeah,
Maybe next year. Maybe
yeah,
next year you tell him, say, hey, listen, let mine go early. Do a full reveal.
yeah. I think so. He could. I mean, he could do like an Airbnb experience or something like that. Just
Paint barn with Dave.
yeah. I think that's a great idea. I would.
How about your pads? Do you design your pads too, or is that just kind of a kind of give a couple parameters to go from there?
Yeah. So I do. Basically, they'll just give me they'll send like a PO number to True, and then my True rep will send me a customizer, and then I'll basically just go through the customizer, pick everything I want, and then just have kind of just like a summary conversation, with the rep, just to make sure that it's everything that I think I want. And but yeah, so it's nice to be able to kind of pick our colors and kind of have that freedom. I know forwards and D don't really have the same luxury.
No, no. And it's nice because Hartford and you got the blue down there, so it kind of matches all together, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I just did a little hints of red, just because it's not, we still wear the red pants down here. So, it still matches and everything, but, yeah, I guess it doesn't really match with the jerseys, but it matches with the pants at least. So
yeah, that's fun.
yeah,
Yes, you guys still wear the Ranger pants, right? You guys wear the Ranger pants underneath the pads no matter what.
yeah. Just because I mean, those are the pants they send us. So, and I can't stand wearing a shell. Just feels restricting. So
I don't blame you.
yeah.
How about that? This I asked your coach about this too, and he is not a fan. The special promo jerseys when you guys wear the promo jerseys. What do you think about those?
I think if like the material was consistent with our normal jerseys, it would be fine. But usually the material is it's just not great. It's not great quality. So I think I'm not a huge fan of them either. It just, especially some of them are just kind of ridiculous. Like I think there was,
You guys were Dumb and Dumber this year. I mean,
yeah, the Dumb and Dumber ones. Like I can get
SpongeBob.
behind certain ones. Yeah, SpongeBob. It's just most of them aren't very like well designed. Like I don't know who designs them, but I think there's better work to be done, I would say.
And for a goalie too, obviously like your arms get restricted if it's not good quality
Yeah.
too. So
Yeah, I find like around the neck too, it's like a little tight. Even like the socks, I usually end up just cutting the socks really, just because they're usually too tight. So it basically all my stuff just turns into shreds for the most part.
you're a real fun jersey auction off at the end of the day. Then that's great.
Yeah, they find all the cuts in the the armpits, the jerseys. They find the socks are cut in half. So
Yeah, no, it's fun. And then how about like 11 a.m. games? How tough is that? Like for those like school games, especially as a goalie, like you go through your routine. How tough is that?
Yeah, it's definitely different. You kind of have to. I think that's one thing like you kind of learn with pro hockey is that you can't really have. I would say like being superstitious, you can't really do that just because it's kind of impossible to repeat the same thing over and over again, especially with these random game times and everything. So I think just having a routine and kind of trying to stick to as close as you can. You know, with the food, it's a little weird, kind of eating breakfast food slash lunch, I guess, at whatever time. So the 11 o'clock games, yeah, those are you kind of just wake up and just go and just give it your best shot.
Hope for the best.
Yeah,
No,
basically.
Oh yes, like goalies, I feel like always are superstitious or have a superstition about what they do. You don't have anything going on. You don't do like one skate on or something like different like that.
No, I don't like superstitions whatsoever. So I just I've chosen not to do them. I try to do things differently most games just to prevent any from forming.
Okay, all right, that's good. Um, Now, you talked about that your snow story up there, but any bad travel stories you've had through your years so far?
Bad travel. I mean, let's see. Well, every time we went, actually, when I was in Florida last year, it was like almost every time we went to Jacksonville, our bus would break down. But it would break down like once we got there. So we'd always just find scooters from the hotel and scooter to the rink, for games, for pregame skates and stuff like that. Um, Bad trail stories. I mean, we've had some, I guess, on our way back from Newfoundland when I was in Florida last year, because we played Newfoundland in the conference finals. Like one of our flights got canceled, and then we flew back on the next flight, and like half the team made it through customs for our connecting flights, and then the other half got stuck going on a later one. So there's well, and then what happened? There was like one time we flew back so late. Might have been the same trip, honestly. But we flew back we were supposed to fly into Fort Lauderdale. I think it was like 2 or 3 in the morning, and no one was working. So we were like circling around, waiting. Just the pilot was calling in to have someone land us, and no one was there to land us. So we then we had to fly to like a different airport.
They're just closed.
Yeah, they're just like, no, there's no one's there. You can't come. So we had to fly to a different airport and then get bussed back or something. So stuff like that. It's yeah, you just really have to roll with it.
Oh man, that's pretty good. Well, thanks so much for joining us this week, and best of luck this year. And hopefully, we'll see you back up in Hartford again maybe soon. We'll see what happens up there. But you guys got a pretty solid goalie tandem down there in Jacksonville with Olaf and Charles. So
Yeah,
exciting things down there for you guys. After they had a good season last year, you guys had a better season last year, and down in with the Everblades. But hopefully, you get back to the Kelly Cup this year as well.
yeah. I mean, obviously that's the goal, and it's a lot of fun working with Charles and Olaf. It's a fun tandem to be a part of. So yeah, I think it's a great atmosphere, and a great group of guys. So looking forward to see what we can do.
Awesome. Well, best of luck, buddy.
Appreciate it. Great talk with you.
Thank you so much to Parker for joining us. That was awesome. It was great to hear his story. Just an incredible story. Like I said before the interview, just crazy path. He said, he got the special waiver to play, and then it got taken away when he didn't make the Olympic team, and then he couldn't play anymore. And to go from being a pro hockey player to now you're back in the Army barracks, and you're now back in the military, and you can't live out your dream, and then you go back. It's just crazy story. It's very cool to see his path, and I mean, he's made some great saves down in Jacksonville. We've seen his highlights. He's 10-6-1 on the year so far. So Jacksonville's off to a good start. They had their best season ever last year. We had the coaches on earlier in December, and they talked about the success the team had last year and building off that. And he's been pretty much a starter down there in Jacksonville. Him and Olaf Lindbaum have been the goalie tandem, the former Rangers second-round pick. So I've been keeping an eye on Jacksonville. Obviously, we got a couple guys we've had on the show. Ryan Lowen has bounced around up and down between Hartford and Jacksonville. He's down in Jacksonville now. Cristiano DiGiacinto is down in Jacksonville, now back up at Hartford. He's gone back and forth. So I'm keeping an eye on the Hartford guys down there. And obviously, he's a guy to watch. So make sure if you're checking out any Jacksonville Icemen games, make sure you go check out the goaltending team there, number 31. Great guy, and I can't thank him enough for joining us. That was great to talk with him. And that does it for episode 117 of the Broadway Hat Podcast. Thank you to all of our listeners who have donated and have made the 5-star reviews. We had 3 more come in this last week, so make sure you go on there and check us out on Apple Podcasts. Subscribe to the show. Leave us a 5-star review. Every 5-star review we do receive, $1 is donated to Alex's Lemonade Foundation to help an amazing cause fight pediatric cancer. So thank you to everyone who's done that. Please just takes literally 2 minutes of your day. Go on there, leave a 5-star review, subscribe to the show, and help that amazing cause. Make sure you go on Spotify, find the show there, and subscribe. You can find the show on Google Play, Amazon Music, Pandora, Spreaker, anywhere you get your podcast, you can find us there. Make sure you find the show on Facebook and Instagram at The Broadway Hat Podcast. You can find the show on Twitter at Broadway Hat Pod. You can find my personal Twitter account at KHallNY. Make sure you go check out all my latest articles on bellyupsports.com. And also make sure you go and subscribe to the show on our YouTube channel where we're posting clips, full episodes, and also specials on there at the Broadway Hat Podcast on YouTube. We have some exciting stuff coming out and rolling out there, so make sure you go check us out there and subscribe. And thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.